When I think back on all the crap I learned in high school, it's amazing I can think at all, thought Roy Robinson as he headed west on Highway 17. His mind had been wandering all morning. He smiled grimly, thinking that not having a college education hadn't really hurt him. He could still read the graffiti on the wall. Throughout his teenage years and high school, Roy had been taught that honesty, loyalty, and dedication were admirable qualities that everyone should admire and strive for. Now those ideals seemed to haunt him. Donna seemed a little distracted. Perhaps it would be better to say detached, since their son had left for college 3 months earlier. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but Roy could tell that he and Donna had been on different wavelengths lately. Everything became clear when Ben Miller called him from work. Roy and Ben had been friends since high school when they got into a fight over something trivial. Neither of them could do much harm to the other, but they emerged from the fight with a newfound respect for each other. Within weeks, they were best friends, and they remained so. Ben worked at the same large insurance company as Donna. He was an actuary while Donna worked in the IT department. Ben's office was several floors above Donna's, so they rarely interacted at work. That didn't stop Ben from overhearing a conversation one afternoon. "Roy, you're not going to like this, but I wouldn't be a good friend if I didn't tell you what I heard," Ben said as soon as Roy answered his call. "A while ago, I had to take some papers to the front desk. The tacos I had for lunch decided to rebel just as I was approaching the front desk, so I hurried to the restroom on the second floor. While I was in the stall, 2 guys came in, and I overheard their conversation. A guy named Jim was telling the other guy how he was going to sleep with a woman named Donna for the next 2 nights. She was attending a seminar in Corning, New York, and he had persuaded her to take him with her and share her room and bed. That's all I heard, Roy. I have no idea if he meant your Donna or if what he said was true," Ben admitted. "I'd like to know about that conversation if my wife's name was Donna." "That's pretty interesting," Roy admitted, surprised. "Donna's going to Corning tomorrow for some kind of seminar. She'll be gone for 2 nights. Now I'm worried." "I don't see what you can do," Ben replied. "If you make her stay home and explain why, she'll just say I'm a total jerk. Or maybe those 2 guys I overheard were talking about some other Donna." "I think I'll have to take a couple of sick days off work and visit her tomorrow. I need to know if she's cheating on me," Roy replied decisively. "Why don't you take my Camry?" Ben suggested. "It looks like one of the millions of other Toyotas on the road." "Donna won't know you're following her." The next day, Roy got up much earlier than Donna. He drove to Ben's house and traded cars with him. Ben couldn't resist commenting on Roy's modified Mustang with a Chevrolet engine and a Dodge front end. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Ben asked, looking at Roy's car. "Who the hell does something so stupid to a car? God made them to take you from one place to another, not to show off like Dallas cowgirl cheerleaders." "She's cute, isn't she?" Roy beamed with pride. "You're right about trading cars. Your crappy Camry doesn't stand out like my Martha does." "You named your damn car?" Ben asked in amazement. "How old are you, for God's sake?" "You're still crazy after all these years." "I feel young again when I drive my Martha," Roy insisted. "Yeah, I remember all the girls you had in high school when you were a little kid," Ben retorted sarcastically. "Have you ever been on a date?" "If you took all the girls I knew when I was single and put them all together for one night, you'd do much better than I did," Roy admitted with a laugh. "Just be careful with my car. I don't want it scratched." "No problem. I'll drive my Beamer to work. Maybe we should put that damn Camaro in the garage so I can avoid any awkwardness," Ben suggested. Roy returned home and parked near his house. He sat and watched Donna leave. Shortly after 10, her car drove down the street, and Roy followed at a distance of a mile. Roy felt pretty lousy about following her. He had always trusted Donna, and it seemed wrong to spy on her, but he felt compelled to do so. 5 minutes into the drive, Donna called him on his cell phone. "You left early this morning without even saying goodbye," she grumbled. "You know I'll be in Corning for 2 nights. You could have at least kissed me goodbye." "That would have been the least you could have done," Roy replied. "You've barely paid any attention to me for the last few months. A quick kiss is all I can expect from you." "Are you sulking like a little boy?" Donna asked. "All you think about is sex. You never think about how I feel. Women like to be treated to wine. Your 1-2 thank you, ma'am, just doesn't cut it. I need to be in the mood." "I see," Roy replied sarcastically. "Let me know when you're in the mood, and if my mood matches yours, we'll have fun like rabbits." "Just not with that attitude," Donna growled. "It'll be a long time before you get anything." "I don't have to." Roy hung up. Why should he feel like he had to listen to her nonsense when she was cheating on him? Why should he care about anything she said? He realized that he had already bought into the theory that Donna was leading him on. His attitude toward her had changed dramatically in less than a day. If a woman refuses to have sex and treats her husband like shit, why should he even bother about her? Their son was in college and would be fine. If Donna was denying him sex and communication, why stay married? Roy's phone rang again. He glanced at it and saw that it was Donna, so he ignored the call. She wasn't going to tell him anything he wanted to hear, so why answer her call? As soon as the phone stopped ringing, he noticed that Donna was no longer on the road that should have led her to Highway 17. She turned onto a side street and pulled into a paved driveway. As soon as she stopped, some jerk jumped out of the house. He threw a gym bag into the back seat and climbed into the car. Then he leaned over and kissed Donna. She was obviously in the mood now. "This is going to be a wonderful couple of days," Jim Gamble gushed, pulling away from Donna's lips and lightly pinching her right breast. "I can't wait to get you naked and lay you down on your back." "You're certainly enthusiastic," Donna replied with a smile, removing Jim's hand from her breast. "We're too close to home to be showing our feelings and acting romantic. Wait until we get further away." "Of course I'll wait, but it won't be easy. Your breasts speak for themselves," Jim said with a smirk. "You'll have to wait until tonight." Roy drove down the street a few houses and turned into the driveway to watch what was happening. After another, slightly quicker kiss, Donna backed out of the driveway and drove back to the main intersection. When she turned left, she found she was heading in the right direction for Corning. It looked like the jerk was going to accompany her on her 2-day trip. Roy was stunned by this moment. He wasn't particularly surprised by her actions, only regret and sadness that it had ended this way. He wondered if he should go home. He had seen enough to understand what was going on, but he felt he had to see it through to the end. Donna could have claimed she gave that miserable bastard a ride to the bus stop or any of hundreds of other places. Roy was several cars behind Donna on Highway 17 when she merged to the right and turned onto the exit ramp. He had enough time to take the same exit. She pulled into a gas station and got out to fill up her tank. Roy parked across the street in the parking lot of a seedy bar and watched what was happening. Donna was just putting the hose in when her lover came out of the store with a plastic bag that Roy suspected contained drinks and snacks. As he approached Donna's car, 2 men ran out from behind the gas station. One rushed toward Donna, while the other approached her boyfriend very closely. Donna was taken by surprise when the unfamiliar man rushed toward her. In his left hand, he clutched a large knife, which he was hiding from the surveillance cameras with the hood of his jacket. "I'm driving, bitch. Just get in the back seat and shut the fuck up," was all he said as he pushed the highly shaken woman into the back seat. Roy saw Donna suddenly flinch and start crying. At the same time, her romantic companion shook his head in response to something he had been told and tried to push away the man who had approached him. The guy quickly punched the idiot in the stomach and shoved him into the back seat while he was still crouching down. The man who had approached her quickly sat Donna down in the other back seat. As soon as she sat down and the door closed, the guy jumped behind the wheel and carefully pulled out onto the road. It was perfectly clear to Roy that things had just gone terribly wrong for Donna and her boyfriend. Roy managed to pull himself together and started following them. He took out his cell phone to call 911, but the damn thing was as dead as last year's dandelions. He had a charging cable in his back pocket, but he didn't dare take it out, afraid of losing sight of Donna's car as she picked up speed to 170 kilometers per hour, this time on the eastbound highway. Following Donna's car was easier than Roy had expected. He drove at the speed limit and stayed in the right lane. The driver obviously realized that by driving safely, he would attract much less suspicion. Roy finally managed to pull the charging cable out of his back pocket. Then he realized he didn't know if the old Camry he borrowed from Ben had a USB port he could use or where it was located. He tried to scan the dashboard without taking his eyes off Donna's car. As soon as he found the USB port, another car pulled off Highway 86. Roy grinned and quickly followed. By a lucky coincidence, these people stopped just a few miles from his house. He knew the area pretty well. "Where are you taking us?" Donna asked as she began to overcome her initial fear. "You can take our money. Just let us go. We won't even call the police, I promise." The criminal sitting in the front passenger seat turned around and stared intently at Donna. She was struck by the intensity of his gaze. There was no hope in his eyes, only anger. "This damn car is worth more money than I've ever seen in one place. I'm just a poor guy, though you never took the time to get to know me or even care about me. I stopped doing the right thing because of a few vague promises. It's all lies. I hear what you're really saying. You'll turn the cops on us as soon as you get the chance. You won't get that chance. We're going to lay low and go somewhere you'd never go if you had a choice. It's a place where only the dregs go. Only the poor know about these places." "I have friends in the state police," Jim insisted. "You bastards will be hunted down to the gates of hell for this shit. Just let us go. In the end, it will be much better for you." "That's what you don't understand," said the man in the passenger seat. "Guys like us don't have a long-term future. We tried to find work, but we didn't get any offers, except from prostitutes. But we don't even have the money to pay them." "You're just unlucky that we picked you two," added the driver. "We took the money from the pharmacy next to the gas station. There was a little mix-up and our driver ditched us, so we had to improvise. You had just finished filling up the car and had the keys in your hands, so we picked you." "You robbed a pharmacy?" Jim croaked. "You won't get away with this. The cops will have your asses behind bars before nightfall." "You better hope not," the driver replied. "We're not going to give up, so they'll have to work hard to catch us." "You might not make it to the end of the road." Roy fell behind the car as it turned onto a narrow road. Then the car turned onto a gravel driveway. But Roy kept going. He knew what kind of property the carjackers had chosen. It had once belonged to the Turner family, but years ago it had been bought by some people from New York. They had put a couple of mobile homes on the property to use on weekends and in the summer. Roy had heard that the owners had died and their children had never cared about the place. The trailers had been abandoned for years. When Roy last saw them 2 years ago during hunting season, the property looked extremely dilapidated. Roy knew there wasn't a house within a few miles, at least none he wanted to go near. The residents of this rural part of New York weren't very fond of strangers. They had little reason to trust the government or the police. The problem was that there was virtually no cell phone reception in the area. The mountains effectively blocked signals from towers several miles away. Even if he had charged his phone, it was unlikely he would have been able to get a signal. He turned onto an abandoned dirt road and parked. The thought of leaving Donna with those men made Roy sick. He had loved her his entire adult life. She had given him a son. He couldn't bring himself to abandon her when she really needed him. Husbands protected their wives. It was their duty. "What's your name?" asked the driver, stopping next to what had once been a mobile home. Now it resembled a ruin and a wooden shed sunk into the ground. When none of the captives said a word, the man snatched Donna's purse from her hands and opened it. He smiled when he saw $300 bills and several credit cards in her wallet. He put them in his pocket before pulling out her wallet. "God bless you, Mrs. Robinson." We could really use the money, the driver said, continuing to rummage through Donna's wallet. Mrs. Robinson? His partner asked, examining the wallet he had just pulled from Jim's back pocket. This guy's name is James Gamble. Are you sure she's married? There's an envelope with baseball tickets addressed to Mrs. Donna Robinson and some photos of her with some guy who's definitely not this guy. Are you a widow, Mrs. Robinson, or are you having an affair with this jerk? Judging by the way you're blushing and looking down at your feet, I think you answered my question, the man remarked with a chuckle. We may be bandits, but you have a little secret. It looks like your husband will soon be nothing but a memory. If you were at home with him instead of running around with this loser, you'd be much better off. He's just a colleague. We were going to a 2-day seminar in Corning for my work. I love my husband, Donna insisted. Were you going to sleep with your colleague tonight? Asked the other robber, who was now waving his gun. Look how red she is, remarked the driver. They were going to press their bellies against each other tonight. Just think, they act like they're so much better than us. But there's no one worse than a liar and a cheater. I hope you managed to hide this from the kids, Mrs. Robinson. You don't want them to know their mother is a whore. I'm not a whore, and my son knows I would never cheat on my husband. I've never done that, Donna declared. Was this your first ride, so to speak? Asked the man Donna now considered the driver. Talk about bad luck. Maybe Nick and I can help you make up for it. We're younger and better looking than James. Listen, guys, Jim began conciliatorily. We don't want any trouble, but it smells like cat piss in here. Why don't we go into town, grab a bite to eat, and discuss the situation? I'm sure we can come to an understanding that will work for everyone. That's not going to happen, asshole. It stinks in here because we cook a little meth from time to time. That's why we had to borrow some shit from the pharmacy. The last thing we need is your pathetic ass getting in the way, the driver said. Why don't you take him for a walk, Nick? No, you can't do that, Jim argued, fighting the panic rising inside him. That's murder. What would your parents and friends think if they found out you killed someone? Are you kidding? Nick replied. In my small town, I never meant anything. I was just my father's son. He died when I was 15, and nobody gave a shit. Let's go. Jim glanced at Donna, then made up his mind. He suddenly turned and ran. He rounded a maple tree just as he heard the crack of a gunshot behind him. The bullet hit the tree near his head. Several splinters dug into his neck. The burning sensation only made him run faster as he sprinted down the winding forest path. When the shooter realized he had missed Jim, he gave chase, waiting to get a clear shot when Jim came out into the open. He was younger and in better shape than Jim, so he had little doubt that he would get close enough to shoot the fleeing man before he could get far. Suddenly, Nick stumbled over a branch. He raised his hand to rub his forehead when the branch actually hit him, this time on the jaw. Nick took a step or two back and stared at the mountain laurel bush to his left, not believing his eyes. He caught a glimpse of a piece of wood just before it cracked his temple, and everything went black. Roy spent some time making his way through the woods to the wrecked trailers. He almost tripped over a meter-long oak branch. Realizing it could make a decent weapon, Roy picked it up and took it with him. As he expected, he found Donna's car parked in a small clearing between the trees. Slowly moving closer, Roy could clearly hear the conversation from his vantage point. Roy heard the guy with the gun tell Jim to go. He obviously intended to shoot Donna's boyfriend. Roy saw Jim suddenly rush toward the trees. Jim ran past Roy's hiding place just after a shot hit the tree next to Jim's head. Roy gave Jim credit. For a man his age, he had really stood his ground and put them in their place. Roy was ready for the man with the gun to come around the tree he had just shot at. Not wanting to kill a man, Roy struck with the oak branch, not using his full strength. To his amazement, the shooter was hit in the forehead but managed to stay on his feet. Roy quickly struck him twice more on the head, and the man finally collapsed to the ground. Roy immediately backed away into the bushes, fearing that another gangster would come to his partner's aid. He sat motionless for over a minute. When no one appeared, Roy decided that the other gangster must not have realized that his partner was in trouble. Roy cautiously made his way through the bushes toward Donna's car. It took him several minutes to focus on being stealthy. Once he was near Donna's car, he cautiously peered through the windows. He was shocked to see Donna tied to a small, dilapidated porch. She was facing the structure, her wrists tied to a pair of rotten posts. Her kidnapper was cutting her clothes off with a knife while Donna cried pitifully. Roy was surprised at how angry he felt. This bitch deserved what she was getting, but Roy didn't enjoy seeing her in such a predicament. Roy tried to come up with a plan while the man cut off Donna's last piece of clothing, her black lace panties. Donna begged the man to let her go. Now Donna was lying on the old porch, her face buried in the rotten floorboards, her hair scattered across her shoulders. Roy decided that he would never have a better opportunity to get close to the guy unnoticed, so he crept around Donna's car as quietly as he could. Getting closer, he grabbed an oak branch with his left hand. He focused on putting his plan into action when the oak branch struck him with a crushing blow to the back of his head. Roy had learned his lesson when the first guy he hit didn't go down right away. This time he swung with all his might. The man groaned and collapsed on top of Donna, who was almost in a stupor by this point. Roy reached out to pull the man off Donna when the silence was broken by several loud sirens. Roy noticed the gravel-strewn driveway and saw an old Mercedes speeding down the driveway at a speed that was far too fast to be reasonable. Several flashing lights approached the car as it disappeared from view behind the second trailer. Roy made a split-second decision and quickly disappeared into the thick woods. No one had seen him, and he had no desire to tell the police this sordid story. He saw no legal or psychological advantage in joining them. With that in mind, he quickly made his way through the woods and returned to the Camry. Roy checked his cell phone and saw that it was still dead. That suited him fine. He obeyed all the traffic rules as he drove back to Ben. "Ben, I don't want to talk much about how my day went. The less you know, the better," Roy explained, handing the keys to the Camry to his friend. "I'm not asking you to lie about anything if the cops come to question you, but I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell them anything voluntarily. As far as I know, they have no reason to be looking for you or your car." Ben studied Roy's face for a few seconds before nodding. "I bet I'll hear the whole story at work tomorrow. I'll keep my mouth shut unless the cops knock on my door and start asking questions. I have a family, and I can't risk hurting them by lying to the police." "I would never ask you to lie," Roy replied. "I'm just asking you to refrain from telling anyone else anything. I appreciate everything you've done for me. It's good to have at least one loyal friend." "Okay, but I'm waiting for a detailed report over a couple of cold beers once everything settles down," Ben replied with a crooked smile. "This must be something worthwhile." Roy returned home as the sun was setting. He reheated the leftover lasagna Donna had made for him and washed it down with a few beers. By 10 o'clock, he was in bed and fast asleep. Shortly before midnight, he was awakened by the doorbell ringing continuously. Roy crawled out of bed and staggered toward the front door. Donna's parents gasped when he opened it. "What the hell is wrong with you, Roy? You can't answer the door in your underwear." Donna's mother, Clara, squealed. "Oh, really?" "Okay," Roy replied, slamming the door shut, locking it, and sliding the bolt. He was halfway to his bedroom when the doorbell rang again. He smiled as he closed his bedroom door and stretched out on his bed. The continued ringing of the doorbell was balm for his soul. They weren't Donna's, but they had raised that bitch. He wasn't going to take any more shit from his mother-in-law. Roy woke up bright and early. He had already taken the day off work because he was sure he would follow Donna all the way to Corning. He shaved and took a shower before going about the usual business a man faces when he realizes he can't trust his wife. He managed to find a lawyer who would see him in the afternoon, so he took care of his financial affairs in the morning. Donna was desperate to survive. Jim raced into the woods, and that crazy bastard chased him and shot at him. Within minutes, the driver had tied her hands to the posts of a rotten porch in front of a dilapidated trailer home. She was left alone with the psychopath. As soon as she was tied up, the man began to rip her clothes off. Donna begged the man to let her go, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. This robbed her of all resistance, and she collapsed, curling up on the old porch. To her surprise, the man collapsed on top of her and remained motionless. Because she was lying beneath him, she had no idea if he was playing with her or if he had some kind of medical problem and had passed out. Then Donna heard sirens. Unable to see what was happening, she relied on her hearing. A car screeched to a halt and a door slammed. Several voices, apparently all from the police, ordered the man to raise his hands. He must have done as he was told, because there were no shots fired. The motionless man lying on her back was pulled off, and her hands were freed. A police officer handed her a blanket and a bottle of water. She wrapped herself in the blanket and drank the water. Then, the questions began. Donna told how she and her friend Jim had been kidnapped at the gas station and taken to their current location. She had no explanation for the broken skull of the man who was unconscious and had tried to rape her. While she was being questioned, the second man was found lying on the path. He had also been severely beaten. Again, Donna was unable to tell the police how it had happened. He was chasing Jim, so I think Jim found a way to hit him before he was shot again, Donna reasoned, thinking through the situation. You didn't find another body or a lot of blood, did you? An ambulance arrived, and the man who had tied Donna up and tried to rape her was loaded into the vehicle. As soon as that vehicle drove away, another arrived to take the other gang member who was unconscious to the hospital. Donna was taken to the state police headquarters for questioning after being given clean clothes. The station was small, so she could clearly hear Jim talking to the police officers who arrived about half an hour after her. Donna wanted them to be given some time to be together to coordinate their stories, but she and Jim were kept apart while they were being questioned. Jim was a lonely man who, to the best of his knowledge, had never broken any laws, so he cooperated fully with the police. He explained how he had come to be riding with Donna and why. However, he couldn't explain the injuries inflicted on the two kidnappers. He just ran until he heard the sound of cars. He headed in that direction and managed to stop a motorist who called the police. Donna tried several times to call Roy from the police station, but his phone was turned off. In desperation, she called her parents. She asked them to find Roy and tell him about her problems. She needed him. It was around 1 a.m. when her parents entered the room at the police station. It was painfully obvious that neither of her parents was very happy. "Where's Roy?" Donna asked. "You couldn't find him?" "We found that pathetic bastard, but when your mother scolded him for opening the door in his underwear, he slammed it in our faces and locked us out," her father said. "We rang the doorbell and banged on the door for another half hour, but he wouldn't open the door. I needed him here with me. Why did you yell at him for not being dressed properly to answer the damn door? Did you expect him to just get out of bed and run to the police station?" Donna growled. "Why do you always have to tell him what he's doing wrong? Would it be so hard for you to be nicer to him? After tonight, your father and I won't even be polite to him," her mother said defiantly. "His wife needs help, and he answers the door in his underwear. That means he doesn't want to get dressed and talk to us, right? I've had enough of your husband. He can go to hell." "What am I supposed to do now, Mom?" Donna asked, sounding calmer than she felt. "It's the middle of the night. My car is involved in a criminal investigation, and you don't approve of Roy's nightclothes, so I'm stuck here." "Let's go home and get some rest," her father suggested. "We can sort this out in the morning. First, I want to hear how you got into this mess." When Roy returned home after meeting with his new lawyer, Donna was sitting in the living room. He nodded to her and headed for the stairs. "Aren't you interested in why I'm home?" Donna asked. "Why is your damn phone off? Why aren't you at work?" Roy kept walking. He went upstairs and changed into more comfortable clothes for working in the yard. When Roy returned to the living room, Donna continued her speech. I asked you some questions and I'm waiting for answers, Donna said angrily. You can't just ignore me like my mother does. That was pretty funny, Roy replied with a chuckle. The old bitch decided she had the right to kick my ass for not opening the door according to her rules. I guess she learned not to do that shit again. Funny? Donna repeated. I sent her after you because I needed you and your phone was off. You're never around when I need you. Roy couldn't help but remember yesterday, when his wife was tied up and naked, and a stranger was about to rape her. He was there when she needed him, but she hadn't been there for him for a very long time. Nodding, Roy forced a smile and went to the garage to get his lawnmower. He just didn't see any reason to listen to all the nonsense his wife was about to spout at him. When the door opened, Donna stormed into the garage in a rage. What's wrong with you? I was talking to you and you just walked away. Are you drunk? Look, here's the local newspaper, Roy said calmly, pointing to the newspaper lying on the driveway. Read this, then we'll talk, bitch. Donna was shocked by Roy's tone. He had never spoken to her like that before. He had never even sworn in her presence. Feeling quite uneasy, she picked up the newspaper. The headline was confusing. The article itself was even worse. Roy had already read the newspaper at his lawyer's office, so he knew what it was about. It was pretty simple, really. Donna's lover had sung like a canary. The newspaper had interviewed him as he was leaving the police station and managed to get his comments into tomorrow's edition. He claimed that he and his married mistress were on their way to Corning for a work seminar, a celebration of love, when they were kidnapped by drug-crazed killers. He managed to escape after being used as a target for target practice. By the time he had safely escaped and called for help, state police had tracked the missing driver to the location where the robbers were hiding. The criminals were arrested, and his mistress was rescued. Donna felt nauseous when she read the article Jim had published in the newspaper. After finishing the article, she read it again. Her name was not mentioned once. Perhaps no one would connect her with Jim. Then she saw the police version of what had happened. It was printed next to Jim's interview, also on the front page. Her name, age, address, and marital status were listed. Nicholas Brennan, William Lansing, and Bo Jackson were arrested and charged with numerous crimes, including kidnapping and unlawful imprisonment. The article did not mention why Jim was with her, but once you read both articles, the whole sordid story became crystal clear. The only mystery that remained was how the two kidnappers had ended up unconscious. The police suspected that a good Samaritan had knocked them out, but they had no explanation for why he wasn't there when they arrived at the scene, and they had no leads to identify him. Donna was so engrossed in reading the articles that she didn't notice Roy take the lawnmower and start mowing the lawn. She staggered back into the house, sat down at the kitchen table, and waited for Roy. While she waited, she noticed 2 suitcases standing by the back door. An hour later, Roy returned from the garage, walked over to the refrigerator, and grabbed a beer. Donna searched his eyes for any hint of what he was thinking, but saw no emotion. "I'm sorry," Donna began. "I humiliated myself and put you in an awkward position. I never wanted that to happen. I'm sad to see you hurt. I wish there was something I could do to make you smile again." "How did you humiliate yourself?" Roy asked gently. "What did you expect to happen, and how did it differ from reality? Don't be modest, Roy. It doesn't suit you. I screwed up. I was almost raped and killed. I was hoping to spend 2 nights in the arms of another man," Donna confessed. "It would have been the first time I'd ever cheated on you. If it helps, Jim and I never had sex. I've never had sex with anyone but you." "I see," Roy replied. "You fell in love with another man. You just had to have sex with him. You threw me out on the side of the road because of it. It's like a hard slap on the ass, if you know what I mean." "No, I never stopped loving you, Roy. I don't have any feelings for Jim. He was just a guy who wanted to scratch an itch. I never meant to leave you," Donna insisted. "I know you packed 2 suitcases, but you don't have to go. If you love me, you'll give me another chance." Don't talk to me about love, Roy growled. I've heard all those words before, but they're meaningless. I'm not going back to feelings that are dead. If I never loved you, I would never have cried. It's over now. You turned my heart into stone, or rather, into a damn rock. In fact, it's a fucking rock, and it's all because of you. You know what? It's all good, because stone doesn't feel pain. Rocks never cry.